We on the warpath. It's a frequency war. Welcome back to Prester John Investigation, installment number 46. We on the warpath, man. Let's go. However diverse their original stories of the various devotional images of their Lord, right? Of Esquipulas, we're talking Black Christ, we're talking the OG, we're talking the image they first gave you before he turned into the iconoclastic version of white Christ. We just have this symbol. And the whole time you just like, why is the Pope and all these people got these black figures up, these black Madonnas and these black situations, man. We're talking about the symbol. They're venerating a symbol because to them the symbol only refers to their conquest. But who is this symbol an actual reflection of? Who came first, the symbol or what it symbolizes? The symbol or that which it symbolizes? Let's go. Because they're talking about the black skin color with most attributing it to the miraculous transformation occasioned by divine will. So this is the color of the gods. Okay. Our research indicates that the majority of the acts of the miraculous revelation attributed to the Black Christ convey a clear sense of indigenous identity. What came first, the Black Christ or the indigenous identity? The majority of the acts of miracles, revelation, attributed to this Christus, this Jesus, convey a clear sense of indigenous identity. Based on our analysis, the figure symbolizes the what? Condition and fate of the indigenous population. So when you're reading about feet of bronze, hair of wool, yeah, that's you, my nigga. That sounds like an indigenous population. Hair of wool, feet bronze. But you're only talking about a symbol. This suppressed and multi-ethnic people who can only find in the martyred Christ, find hope in the martyred Christ, because just like them, he was persecuted by his enemies who consigned him to the cross. Now, was he nailed to a cross or was he hung on a tree? Nailed to a cross or hung on a tree? Because this is a symbol of something. Do you have a lot of images of your people being nailed to crosses? Or are there lots of images of Nagas all over the place being hung on trees? Yeah, man, I'm saying hung on trees, man. Back in the book Medieval History of the Israelites. Remember, this book costs $999 on Amazon. You can holler at me for it if you want a copy. You know what I mean? Hit me up. Music at 432thedrop.com. $999. A whole $1,000 just to read this drop right here. And there's a lot more we're going to be getting out of this, so just fall back, man. Page 381. Remember, this book is by Robert Grisham. If one is to say that a modern Christian, say to a modern Christian that Jesus Christ was hung to a tree in a direct sense and not crucified on a cross, he will be hurt to the depths of his soul. And naturally, he would not agree with it, although he certainly is acquainted with the opinion of apostles Peter and Paul. Here is what Peter said to the high priest of the Sanhedrin. The God of our fathers raised Jesus, whom you killed by hanging him on a tree. Consign him to a cross? Well, it's hard to imagine our ancestors being pierced with nails to a cross, although much more, morbid actions were taken against our people, even than that. But what we do have is a symbol all throughout the KKK and all this stuff, right? Is us being hung on trees, hung on trees, hung on trees. We got the Salem witch hunt, the Jerusalem witch hunt, where they're just finding us saying, oh, you don't worship our black Christ. You don't worship Zeus, man. You must be a witch. Oh, why you got them stones on? You must be a witch, right? And they're hanging you and burning you at a stake and hanging you on a tree. All of this is crucifixion. But specifically, we're saying this symbol right here that represents the condition and the fate of the indigenous people, letting you know that the fate of the indigenous had to predate the symbol, Khan. Before you could have a black Christ, you must have had a black suffering. You must have had a black holocaust, an Ame'rican holocaust of the indigenous population to create a symbol or a what? The crucifixion, therefore, should be understood as a reflection. To get the reflection, first, there had to be the action of the crucifixion, of the invasion. The what? The invasion, or the Spanish conquest, or the British conquest, or the English conquest, or the hijack conquest, or the more on more conquest. The crucifixion, therefore, should be understood as a reflection and Christianized re-edification of the drama. What drama? Of the Spanish conquest or the invasion of the Negro right here in America. By invading the Negro right here in America, you then turn around and create a symbol of our suffering, of our crucifixion, because to be crucified is to be afflicted, is to be wounded. You turn around and you attribute this symbol, this black Christ symbol, to the suffering. And now we have a brand new indigenous identity. We can only identify ourselves in this symbol. Meditate on it. The Lord's resurrection offers to the indigenous people. All right, so the hijack offers to the indigenous people a symbolic space of resistance. Symbolically, you're resisting. Symbolically, you're protesting, right? You're protesting. Oh, you're praying to this black Christ in the name of black Christ. You're praying to the Creator symbolically because you're still praying through Yahweh Shai, right? Black Christ. giving him your power because he's the son. We've been pierced as a people. Our ancestors have been pierced over and over again. So one example of a piercing does not give any credibility to these gospels advocating an image that is only a reflection of your indigenous identity. So now it offers a symbolic space of resistance, a symbolic space of liberation. Because you don't want freedom, man. You just want to march. You want to talk about it. You want to vote on it. You want to have a vote about it. You want to vote about it. You don't want actual liberation. You want symbolic liberation. Oh Lord, come help us. Oh Black Christ. But this is an inversion of you. How crafty, right? The original syncretism, syncretinizing, the attempted fusion of the image, graven images. It's fusion of symbols from pre-hijack to hijack. Pre-hijack, pre-Hispanic Mesoamerican with the Christian imageries. Eventually linked to commercial agents who broadcast the image, losing meaning when confronted with the ethnic blending, the hijack. But first, indigenous people, my naga, first indigenous peoples symbolically reappropriated. That means that you started applying it to your psyche, your cipher, your family cipher. You reappropriated, you found a place for it. Who? Indigenous people, my naga. Now we can't rip Black Christ away from you, my indigenous brother, because you have symbolically reappropriated the image, making Black Christ your own. Black Christ who was pierced and consigned him to a cross. Now think about it. Why wouldn't they give you an image of JC being hung on a tree? Why wouldn't they give you an image of this Negro being hung on a tree? Why isn't that the mascot? You know, they love to use us as mascots, right? The Browns and the Indians and the Redskins. Why isn't that a mascot of Christianity? A black man being hung from a tree? Oh no, that's too real. Then they'll know it's all about them and we're really mocking them as a symbol. Let's use the word pierce. Let's use the word cross. Let's say he was pierced and then nailed to a cross. Not one time are you going to go in no Christian church and they're going to say, oh, our blessed Savior was hung on a tree. They're going to be like, what? So was my uncle. So was my auntie. So was my son. So was my daughter. So was my husband. So was my wife. So was my priest. My kings, my queens. We were all hung on trees. We were all hung on trees. This Black Christ symbolized the condition and fate of the indigenous population as suppressed and exploited multi-ethnic people who can only find hope in the martyred Christ because just like them, we were all hung on trees. He was persecuted by his enemies and hung on a tree. Just like you, my naga. Why do they got to switch it up? Because just like you, my naga, it's showing that this is a symbol. A what? A reflection. We dodge the reflections when we search for Prester John. We searching between the timelines. King David, the priesthood, the covenant. Oh, you thought the Most High's covenant with David is over? Then why must you link that reflection to David? Why must he be a son of David when he is an immaculate conception? He's son of no one. Oh, but God. Well, if he's God's son, then he should just be son of God. Why is he still called son of David? You still got to link him with reality. This reflection was not nailed to a cross. This reflection was hung on a tree, just like you and me. And the reason why we dig on it is because, especially in the Prester John investigation, we've been digging on this because we got to dodge all hijacks. Simple and put. Simply put, man, we got to dodge all hijacks. A hijack is something that takes your energy, that disrupts your flow. You can't care about, overstanding the frequency of David when you're stuck, when you're being hijacked, when your flow is being, redirected to a reflection. And you don't have enough heart to give the reflection and David. Not when you've made that reflection your savior. The God of our fathers raised Jesus, whom you killed by hanging him on a tree, Acts 5. You dig on it. And we are witnesses to all that he did, both in the country of the Jews and in Jerusalem. They put him to death by hanging him on a tree, Acts 10. Dig on it. He himself bore our sins. Dig on that Ezekiel. Because I'm pretty sure Ezekiel had to bear the sins of Israel for 430 days straight. Bound. He was exposed to death. He didn't die. He himself bore our sins in his body on the tree. 1 Peter 2. Dig on it. The Apostle Paul confirms, and when they had fulfilled all that was written of him, they took him down from the tree and laid him in a tomb. Dig on it. Acts 13:29. One more. Galatians 3. Okay, 13. Black Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law. Now we're cursed. Now the law is the curse. Having become a curse for us, for it is written, cursed be everyone who hangs on a tree. I guess we're all cursed because we hanging now. Today it is acceptable to think that the expressions crucified on a cross and hung on a tree are equivalents in as much as the cross was wooden. That's what they say. Oh, it's just a wooden thing. Then just say tree then. Then just say tree. It says it 5 times in your face in the New Testament. But even if one is to admit that the cross and the tree are one and the same, then crucified and hung are different things, all the same. Was he hung? Was he crucified? Well, we know that crucified means you're afflicted, so sure. You see what I'm saying? You see the forked tongue, you see the spell. You see the spell. In our opinion, hung on a tree is evidence of the fact that the method of killing Black Christ in the representations of the first editor of the Bible was by no means what we know according to the canonical text of the scripture. Oh boy. Oh boy. So just know, hung on a tree means hung on a tree. And it's repeated over and over again. Hung on a tree, put him to death by hanging him on a tree, took him down from the tree. Everybody that hangs on this tree is a curse, having become a curse for us because he's hanging on the tree. Consign him to a cross. Nah, man. You're stuck with this image. You're stuck with this inception because it symbolizes you, your crucifixion, because you were hung on a tree. So first you got to dodge the hijack. Then you got to know, man, we on a war path. Let's go. Because at the end of the day, we're just talking Moshe. We're just talking Moshe. Now, what Moshe is this? Let's dig on it. Moses Maimonides. Remember how it got real specific on us. But let's get a piece. How do we go from this Black Christ, symbolic of the indigenous people, to the actual indigenous king, King David, to the connection to Moshe? We'll talk to the Templar, man. Make sure you subscribe to the Templar and make sure you get the drop from Natural by Law, man. We definitely want to do a feature on that. You know, hopefully we have time today for it. That'd be dope. The bro went live, man, dropped an incredible drop on Anan, on Prester John of Appalachia, man, which is just bringing us on home to the promised land. Cities of gold. Hold on, man. Hold on, man. We on a war path, man. We on a war path, man. We on a war path. Let's go. Let go. We good? We good? Oh, we good. Oh, we good. We good. We on a war path. So who's Moses Maimonides? Born March 30th, 1135. They say in Cordoba, Spain. December 13th, 1204 is his death. In Egypt. Moses is in Egypt over there. Moses is in Egypt over here. We're talking reflections. Let's go. Moses Maimonides was the foremost intellectual figure of medieval Jerusalem. Weren't we just reading out of the medieval history or medieval empire of the Israelites by Robert Grisham? Why does this book cost $999 on Amazon, brand new? Because you're digging on these so-called Middle Ages, medieval ages, dark ages, these 1200s, right? And everything around it, 900s, all the way to 1200s. Remember this Scaligerian Batavia's hijack, right? So most of your real history is coming after the 900s, according to Anatoly Fomenko, which we got last time. Get 45, we in 46. So we're talking about an hour, based on our recon, that most of your real history, man, is going to be found right there between 900 and, 12, 1300. Maybe, even closer to that, up to 14, 1500. But that's where the real history is going to be taking place at. And Anatoly Fomenko, the Russian chronographer, is doing a great job digging on it, man. Please recon. He has chronicle after chronicle. He has a whole series of chronicles breaking this down. And they're huge books, man. So there's a lot of recon in it. We just been dabbing in it, but there's a lot of recon in it. Finding the phantoms and the duplicates and the what? The reflections. Black Christ hung on a tree. Black Christ hung on a tree. Just like you and me. So this Moses is the foremost intellectual figure. Stop, man. If he's the foremost intellectual figure, how come you never heard of this particular Moses? Guess we just never dug on medieval Jerusalem or Judaism or Judah in the medieval times, Judah in the dark ages, right? Because that's the real spill, Israelite golden days you're talking about. You're talking about the Byzantine. You're talking about Prester John. But it wasn't in the BCs, and it wasn't that long ago, man. And they just cleared it out by clearing you out. And now you're just getting back in order. His first major work, begun at the age of 23 and completed 10 years later, was a commentary on the Mishnah, the collected Jewish oral laws, a monumental code of Jewish law followed in Hebrew, the guide for the perplexed in Arabic, and numerous other works, many of the major importance. All right, so Moses is writing the code, he's writing the law. All right. He would probably say, I'm just, being inspired to translate the law. I'm not actually writing it. You know what I mean? I'm sure he would say he was divinely inspired. Just like Moshe, when he gave the law, when he gave the tablets, he said, I'm divinely inspired. I didn't really write this stuff. His contributions, remember, is major importance, all right, in religion, philosophy, medicine, have influenced Jewish and non-Jewish scholars alike. Maimonides, Moses was born into a distinguished family. The young Moses studied under his learned father, Maimon. And other masters at an early age astonished his teachers by his remarkable depth and versatility. Don't this sound like Jesus? Don't this sound like, Moses? Remarkable. He's having conversations with the Pharisees. Before Moses reached his 13th birthday, remember that 12-year-old Jesus conversation? All right. His peaceful world was suddenly disturbed by ravages of war and persecution. As a part of Islamic Spain, Cordoba had accorded its citizens full religious freedom. But now, the Islamic Mediterranean world was shaken by Al-Mahads, who captured Cordoba in 1148. Sounds like more on more war. Sounds like Genghis Khan, Prester John, too. All right, leaving the Jewish community faced with the grim alternative of submitting to Islam. So Israel had to submit to Islam or leave the city. Now it's just more sciences. We're all Moorish. Yeah, but there was real Islamic Moorish war going on with the Hebrews in the medieval times. We're talking the 12th century right now. Leaving the Israelites with the grim alternative of submitting to the Mohammedans or the Moab. Let's go. The Maimonides temporized by practicing their Judaism or practicing their Israelite faith in the privacy of their homes. They had to hide the fact that they kept Shabbat. They had to hide the fact that they worshiped the Creator only, while disguising their ways in public as far as possible to appear like, look at that, they cut us off, but it's all good. Let's pick it up from here. Moses took advantage of his medical studies and became a practicing physician. All right, so we're learning about this Moshe. His fame and physical His fame as a physician spread rapidly, and he soon became the court physician to the Sultan Saladin. So now Moses was, he was taken in by the high court, right? Just like the story of Moses. All right. He also continued a private practice and lectured before his fellow physicians at State Hospital. At the same time, he became the leading member of the Jewish community of Israel, teaching in public and helping his people with various personal and communal problems. Maimonides, Moses, married late in life and was the father of a son, Abraham, who was to make his mark in his own right in the world of Jewish scholarship. Abraham made his own mark. Let's go. Hey, just empty your cups right quick. Now let's talk about his works. The writings of Maimonides of Moshe were numerous and varied. His earliest work, composed in Arabic at the age of 16, was the Melad Ha-Higayan, treatise of logical terminology, a study of various technical terms that were employed in logic and metaphysics. Another of his early works was in Arabic. Also in Arabic was the essay on the calendar, Hebrew title Ha-Eber. So, they say Moses, had all this wisdom. He had all these, he came up in Egypt, had all these sciences. So this is something that is not far-fetched. The first of Moses' major work begun at the age of 23, his commentary of the Mishnah, Kitab al-Siraj, also written in Arabic. The Mishnah is a compendium of decisions in Jewish law that dates from earliest times to the 3rd century. Right. So we got real sciencey. One of his essays summarizes the teachings of Judaism in a creed of 13 articles of faith. 13. I guess this is what the cover might look like. I said that looked like a brother right there. Now here's the part, man, that starts to really shine the light on the reflection. He completed the commentary on the Mishnah at the age of 33, after which he began his magnum opus, the Code of Law, the Code of Hebrew Law, at the age of 33. He's writing the law on which he also labored for 10 years. Bearing the name Mishnah Torah, the Torah Review. So he writes the law of the Torah, reviewing the Torah, reviewing the law, right? Written in a lucid Hebrew style. So these are clearly Hebrews, right? We're talking about in the so-called medieval times, which is why this book, Medieval History or Medieval Empire of the Israelites, cost $1,000. Nobody wants you digging on this 1200s Hebrew situation when they look just like you and it just happened. Wouldn't that wake you up faster than thinking it's in the BCs? That's why we're digging on it. We're breaking the spell. You're under a spell. You think this happened so long ago. This can't be right. I'll accept the hijacks. Revision, or symbolism. I'll accept the hijacks. Reflection. They're Black Christ. They're reflection. I'll put my energy in this. I'm not going to do the digging. I'm not going to go deeper. Because here he wrote the Torah, the Mishnah Torah, and written in a lucid Hebrew code style. The code offers a brilliant systematization of all Hebrew law and doctrine. I'm just breaking through the hijack. So this law was a brilliant systematization of all Hebrew law, man, and doctrine. He wrote 2 other works in Hebrew law: the Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts, which is a what? A digest of law for the less sophisticated reader. So this is pretty much like you call it a dumb down if you want to, but a basic digest of law. So he wrote one, that was for the real learned tribe. And then he wrote a basic one called the Book of Precepts, or the Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, which is a digest of law for the less sophisticated reader, written in Arabic, and the Hilchat Ha-Yasharu Yarushalami, Law of Jerusalem, a digest of the laws of the Palestinian Talmud, written in Hebrew. So he's writing them in Hebrew and he's writing it in Arabic. Clearly, our people must have known both. Remember, Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter to come meet you named Louis Torres, who was fluent in both Hebrew and Arabic. And then it goes into his next major work. But hold up. So he wrote the law. This Moses wrote the law. And this Torah, all right? And then he wrote this Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts. That's what we got in last time. If you're surfing the wave, you already know. Now, that was 1200s, right? They say this Moses here died in 1204, so he was really rocking heavy around the 1100s, mid-1100s. You got the Prester John letter, 1165. We already know that. So both of these Presters, both of these, remember how Prester John is King of Kings, Emperor of the Three Indias? What's the chances that this Moses is rocking at the same time as this Prester John and they don't know each other? We put this together a minute ago, man. Again, love to the Templar. We've been digging on the fact that this David and Moses seem to start overlapping when you dig, in between the lines, in between the timelines. And that David is a function, right? So Moses is a David. It's the function of keeping the hijack in check, of keeping the flow, the water flowing, you know what I mean? It's a function. This Dawi is a function. So Moses is a Dawi in title. The foremost intellectual figure when you talk about the Israelites, right? But instead of the 1100s, we got this Anan ben David, founder of the Ananites. We're going to dig on that today. Anti-rabbinical, so they're against the what? In 770, Anan ben David wrote the code of his order called the Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts, and we said, whoa, that's the same book Moses wrote in the 1100s. They said at the age of 33. That's around the 1160s, so about 1170. That's 400-year time shift, man. So they dropped him off here. They dropped him off in the BCs. And now we're connecting the same Anan ben David who wrote the same definitive code of order, the Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts, wrote the same Book of Precepts as Moses. Hijack City. Here we go. Wrote the same Book of Precepts, right? The Book of Precepts, Sefer Ha-Mitzwot. You look it up. You dig on it. Tell me I'm lying, man. Or do we have a clear, a straight up dead hit body bag right here of the timelines being shifted? And even more importantly, that this Anan ben David is Moses Maimonides. In other words, David is Moses. I mean, we're just surfing that wave that David is Moshe. He wrote 2 other works in Jewish law, the Sefer, Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts. Anan wrote the code of his order, the Sefer, Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts. Its unifying principle is its rejection of the Talmud and of the Rabbinate. It rejects all of the hijack, which base its authority on the Talmud, this Rabbinate. Only the Bible is held to be valid. Only the Bible is held to be valid. You see, they were not allowing you to, even read your Torah at that time. I mean, they were, for these Jews going into Judaism, they couldn't read the Bible. They had to be, strict with this Talmud situation. That's why they had to reject it, the Talmud. Because what happened? We're talking about religious freedom. 1148, leaving the Jewish community faced with the grim alternative of submitting to Islam or leaving the city. We want to dig on these other works of this Moses Maimonides, man, because clearly, again, at 33, he's rocking this Mishnah Torah, and here comes the Sefer Ha-Mitzwot that they say was written in 770 with Anan writing this code, which is also called the Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts. Coincidence? We're just talking about the Kara Katai. The Kara Katai. Oh, come on, man. Oh, y'all want to play? Y'all want to play? We're just talking to Kara Katai, man. Stop playing. The Kara Katai. Katai. Oh, thank you. Thank you for just giving us an alley-oop. China, yeah. Why is China called Cathay? Why is China called Cathay? Obviously, we got the maps where it got Cathay on it, right? China, Mexico, all that. China, where Mexico is. And now we have this hard hit with China is Cathay. Why is China called Cathay? Katayo. We still got our map up. They're making me work, man. They're making me work, man. But I'm going to work for it, man. For y'all, I'm going to work for it. I'm going to work for it, man. Why is China called Cathay? It's a simple question. Oh, it's a simple question. La China, Cathay, Cathay, China, India Superior, Mexico. Why is China called Cathay when we're just talking about Cathay? See how they spell it? Catay. Cathay. Cathay. Here you have the Kara Cathay, right? Prester John Cathay or Catan or Kara Cathay. Cathay is Cathay, is Cateo, is Cathay. Out of the book, Searches for an Imaginary Kingdom, the letter of Prester John. I don't think we ever dug on this one. Make sure I bookmark it, man. This Khan, see, I never seen Khan spelled with the K-O-N. I seen C-A-N, yeah, obviously the K-H-A-N or K-A-H-N, but K-O-N, all right. I'm just belly flopping. It's also Kam, K-A-M, all the same as Khan. Now you got Kara Kata, 1098, right? So we're still talking about the, 11th century, 12th century, same as when Moses was supposed to be rocking, writing the law, just like Anan and David. You got 1098, there was not yet a division into Kara or Katan and Kara Katai. The 13th century author is modernizing these Kara. These Katai or Kara Katai lived in certain hills through which I pass. He went by one of these three passes between the western and internal part of the Middle Asia, between Altai and the Tian Shan, and in a valley between these mountains lived a certain Nestorian pastor. All right. Nestorian pastor, old king renowned for wise counsel. Etymology. A powerful man holding sway over the people called Naaman. Now, before they said he was killed by the Naamans, but he was holding sway over a people called Naaman and belonged to the Nestorian Christians. All right, we're just talking about Nestor, right? One more again, man. Make sure you get these links because they be disappearing. Y'all, they're going to make me work for it. I'm going to work with y'all for it, man. Let's go. Where's my Nestor drive? Yeah, they crashed a bunch of my tabs, so it's all good. I'm finding them as I go. You know how it is when you got 70-something tabs up. You just can't let them go. It's just too much drop. It's too much drop, especially when you're just talking Nestor, man. Name for old king renowned for wise counsel. Got it. That's the face you got right now. Got it. Body bag. Old king renowned for what? Renowned for wisdom. Old king renowned for wisdom. So when they call him a Nestorian, they're just saying old king renowned for wisdom or connected to these wise kings, this powerful man connected to wisdom. The region of Kara, Katan, Gurkhan, Yeludashi, which we got to get back into, man. Hold so much drop right there. On the death of Khan, all right, the Nestorian proclaimed himself a king, and the Nestorians called him King John. We're just talking Kara Katai, and we're just belly flopping. I never heard of this book before, and all praise to why. A new Prester John book to explore, which is so great about our investigation, because we're in the 46-part or installment of the series. That's almost 100 hours of published recon on Prester John, plus much, much more that we've done in between. And of course, we do it on every week on the 432 The Drop Radio app. Make sure you download it and you got it, because we talk Prester John every Monday, 10 o'clock Pacific. So I don't care about what number or part we're on. Just know we've been digging on it, and we just now found a new resource. That's how deep this investigation is. That's how much water is in it. And make sure you subscribe to Natural by Law, because he's doing pertinent recon on Anan and Appalachia. I'm talking Kara, Katai. Let's go back. Katai, China. All right. So let's put it all together. Let's start putting it all together. Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts. Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts. 77, Anan ben David. Then you got 1100s, mid 1100s, or specifically, since he wrote it at age of 33, we could just go to the date they say he was born. 1135, and we got what? 1168. All right, 1168 is damn near 1170. Here you got 770. Anan ben David. Or Moses. Okay. So when we talk these Kara or Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kara, and these Katais or these Cathars, now we got to dig on the Cathars, because they was also rolled up on around the same time. They said that they were just obliterated, these Cathars, these Katais, these Karas, all this dealing with King John, or who they call Prester John. Oh, it's getting good. Hold up. It's getting good. Before we even go there, let's go back to medieval history of the Israelites. Let's go to page 235, man. Phantoms and duplicates. Now, I'll start here. This is interesting, man. We just talked about Anion and Arnon and Get Love the Natural by Law, man. Great recon, man. Great live presentation, bro. It says the Bible. All right, so this is Deuteronomy 2. Go over the brook Arnon, which we know we're talking Arnon, or Anion, right? So, when you dig on these scripts, these things start popping out, man. These things start coming to life of what you're talking about. You're talking about the Strait of Arnon, the Strait of Anion, or you're talking about the brook of the Mar Anan, and the Mar Anan is the Amazon. So either you're having reference to an Amazon river, or a Mar Anan river, or you're talking about the Bering Strait. This is, making it come to life right in front of your face, bone, man. Let's keep going. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So much drop in this book, man. So much drop. And you might see something I'm missing, man. You know, go say, man, drop. Why don't you go check that out? Very interesting as well, because we're comparing David, right? Anan ben David with Moses. They're going to compare Solomon with Moses. And this is an interesting thing out the medieval empire of the Israelites. It says Solomon is a great lawmaker and sage. Quote, so that Solomon's wisdom surpassed the wisdom of all the people of the east and all the wisdom of Egypt. Mitzrayim. Sounds like who? For he was wiser than all other men. 1 Kings 4. The wisdom of Solomon in his activity as a lawmaker is posed by the Bible on a level with similar characteristics of Moses. No one else is described by such words in the Bible. We're just talking about writing the code. Writing the code. Somebody else wrote the code. Who else wrote the code? There are two famous lawmakers, Justinian I and Diocletian. Justinian was the author of a widely known code of laws, the Justinian Code, or the Mosaic Laws, or the Code of Diocletian. Besides these duplicates, Diocletian and Justinian, none of the rulers in Roman history were regarded in such exaggerated manner of great lawmakers and sages. We're just talking phantoms and duplicates. Let's go. We on a warpath, man. Oh, yeah. Really interesting here. It just says on the plan of Jerusalem from the anonymous composition, we're talking about this architecture. All right. Deeds of the Franks who captured Jerusalem. The temple itself recalls Saint Sophia. We're going to get on her as well. And 5 gates are indicated. St. Stephen's Gate, Jehoshaphat. You got an unnamed gate. You got Zion and David. David got his own gate. David got his own gate. And the plan is circular, although the Palestinian Jerusalem had the shape as a rectangle. Just leading to the water. Drop Nation got the water. All right, let's get it from here, man. I mean, I'm skipping over lots of drop. It's real hard. It's real hard to do. You try. Now let's go to Benjamin of Tudela. A well-known traveler, Benjamin of Tudela, having visited Asia, reports about the prince of the Babylonian exile. Stop. We're just talking exilar. This Anan David, again, founder of the Ananiah, Kara, the what? Kara Katai, or Cathay, or Kateo. Remember the map with Prester John right here, right? So this Anan David, it's another name for him, all right? This one says son of Yehuda. But we're just talking about the same Dawi, right? I mean, yo. All right, let's try it like this. Let's try it like this. exile, David of Babylon. Now we've gotten closer. This is before 1302, which is around that 1200 mark, which is more matching up with this Moses now, 1200 mark. They wrote the code. This Anan ben David, he wrote the code, right? He wrote the code. We're just talking the exilarchs. The car, kata. We're just talking the prince of Babylonian exile, which will make you an exilarch. Exile arc. Exile arc. Got it? David, Babylon. We're just talking the prince of Babylonian exile. Now, there's a report on this David. Now they're going to say descendant of the Israelite King David, and we have to say, or are you talking David? A well-known traveler, Benjamin of Tudela, having visited Asia, reports about the prince of the Babylonian exile, a descendant of the Israelite King David. His authority has spread to all of the Jews of the Orient, Shinar, Persia, Khorasan, Sheba. His authority is spread? You mean he's the exilarch? You mean he's the emperor, the Khan of the three Indias? The king of the Indians? Prince forever? What else does it say? And to the country of the islands. All right, you got Ararat. That's very important in connection with the ark. Also to the land of Siberia. This means the Babylonian exile still existed. The Babylonian exile still existed. That's why you got exilarchs. But it's not like, it happened so long. It's that it happened in a specific time, and you keep stretching out the time because they're putting you all over the place. They're putting David here. They put David in the 700s. So we went from the 700s to the 1200s, the same way we went to Moses to the 1200s, who wrote the same code, wrote the same Sefer, Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts. Did two men write this book 400 years apart, or did one man write it, and we're just putting it back together again? We're going to get back in that Benjamin of Tudela. Get that drop. So we're just talking about this traveler reported the prince of the Babylonian exile, which they're using this to nail home the point that the Babylonian exile was still rocking in the 1200s. In the 1200s, man, and in particular under his name, this name, it was still rocking in particular under the name Babylonian exile. Hold up, man, I'm on a warpath. I need some more. Because the price is just now going up, man, and it feels so good. Don't you agree? To dig on who wrote the code? Moses wrote the code. This means the Babylonian exile still existed, and in particular still existed under that name. One needs to suppose that Benjamin of Tudela, himself a Jew, was acquainted with the Torah and the time when the real Babylonian exile took place. The real Babylonian exile is going down with your King David. King David, whose son is Daniel, and we know that that's happening during the Babylonian exile because he's literally now under the tutelage of Nebuchadnezzar in the Babylonian captivity. That's how you match the story up. That's how you put the timelines back together. You fuse it accurately. When you find the exile David in the 1200s, and you find that he's the same code writer called Moshe, and we're just talking Prester John, who got the fountain of youth, father of Hasdai of Babylon. So he's the father of exilarchs. The exilarch was passed down to Hasdai. And then, of course, you got Daniel, who's also an exilarch. Kiliab. Love to the family who left a comment. He said, Kiliab. Kiliab sounds a lot like chili, 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 chili. So we got a place called Chile today, probably named after Chiliab or Kiliab or Daniel. Wow. We're just surfing away. Let's do it like this. Matter of fact, go back. No, let's do it like this. I mean, just have fun on this Jenny.com website. Have a good time. Now we can narrow it down, because before they said before 1203, right? Estimated before 1302, before 1302. So they said, before 1302. We are surfing away that this Anan ben David is the same David right here. And the only way to truly kind of tie this together even closer is to compare it to the same Moses who wrote the same code. Oh, we'll get that. Same code. Book of Precepts, Sefer Ha-Mitzwot. Book of Precepts, Sefer Ha-Mitzwot. 400 years apart. Which we said, since Moses wrote that at the age of 33, doing the math, it must have been 1168. So we went over here to find the real David in the real timeline, Exilar, showing you that the Babylonian captivity was on and popping in the 1100s and 1200s, people. How did Columbus just get here 200 years after the Babylonian captivity? Or Genghis Khan, we talking Shalmaneser, Nebuchadnezzar, Genghis, or Georgia. Did you know that Georgia is another way of saying Genghis, Changus? Did you know that it translates to Georgia? So all you're talking about is Genghis. When you talk Georgia, whether you're talking Russia, or America, when you talk Georgia, you're just talking Genghis Khan. You know, I know it's in that medieval history book. I'm not about to try to find it there, but maybe it'll pop up if I just put Georgia, Genghis Khan. Who's going to give it to me now? Or actually, I should say George. making me work for it today, man. Y'all making me work for it today. Yasa of Changus. Let's see. Alright, man. I guess that's why that book costs $1,000. You got some drop that's not really Googleable. I tried to make a shortcut to it. Guess we just gotta find it in that book a little later. But in the book, it talks about how, they're one and the same names, man, which is even further body bag, man. I wish everybody had the drop on that. Then it would be Googleable. Man. Name's George. Gangus. Last one. Let's see. George. Changus Khan. Come on. Yeah, so you got the whole kingdom of Georgia. And this connects directly with this Genghis, man. You know what I mean? It's our people, and it has to connect with this invasion that's popping at the same time. Yeah, I don't see them giving me the name, man. Yeah, they're being tied with this one. I mean, that means we just gotta find it. We just gotta find it in the other dot. Trying all type of ways, man. I really want that joint. I'm just digging on the name of George, tiller of the soil, farmer, earth worker. Okay. Tiller of the soil, earth worker. Whoa. surfing the wave, man. Saying the horns of Moses' face, man. I'm just surfing the wave, man. Y'all, I'm just doing some real recon, man, in real time. Horns of Moses' face. It says this is a mere blunder. The Hebrew kara, or kara means to shoot out beams of light. So when you keep hearing that Moses has horns, is it just referring to these to shoot out beams of light? Look, it says, but has by mistake been translated in some versions to wear horns. Thus, Moses is conventionally represented with horns. Moses was not that the skin on his face shone. The children of Israel could not steadily behold the face of Moses for the glory of his countenance. So he was shooting out light. He was shooting out beams of light. Beams of light. Wow. Can we hear about the horns? Not in connection with these beams of light, though. All right. I might have to say that. All right, so maybe we can find the George drop, at some point in this document. I'm going to try to find that chapter later, man. But if that's the case, which I know it is because I saw it, all right, then you have this Georgia directly wearing the name of Genghis. Even without that, you still got this Babylon situation connecting with the Nebuchadnezzar situation, connected with the Daniel situation, connected with the David situation. And this is all happening around these 1200s. The interesting thing is that when you pull up the Alan, now we're talking allies, right? Now we're talking allies. Now this is the same David, right? David Soslan. And this is another title we still got to dig more on. What is this Soslan? What does it mean? You know what I'm saying? Since we're digging on all this other stuff, let's, meaning of name Soslan. I mean, is there anything that could pop up? Ossetia, the name has been used since at least the 12th century. Hold up. Yeah, we're talking Ossetian, male given name, widespread among Ossetians and Russia, right? It's all about the Russes. The given name originates from the Ossetian name Sasruko, a character in Caucasian mythology, in particular in North Saga. It etymologically came from Turkic languages. Susla. And you got Susa, where they said Daniel was buried in a place called Susa, right? You got the Soslan, Sylvanus Totexus, interesting, because first it kind of was like Totexus. I was like, we're not talking Zeus, we're talking Susla or Sosruko or Soslan. So the Totexus is connected with the sauce, man. The variant Sosruko is in turn an Adeji, whatever that means, borrowing from Sosru or Rus, Soslan. Son. In Ossetia, the name has been given, were in use since the 12th century. That's what we're talking about, right? Medieval. The first documented person with the name was David Soslan II, husband of the Georgian Queen Tamar. Now we can talk Kingdom of Georgia. We can talk Queen Tamar, who got a lot of drag and drop connected with her. First documented person was David Soslan, right? So Suslan, or the land of Susa, however you want to call it. His son was buried in the land of Susa. Could he be David of Susa? Soslan? Huh? Yeah, okay. Now let's go back. We're talking Dawit Soslan of the Alans, king consort of Georgia. Now it's getting interesting. Because just like the exilarch David Soslan, or the exilarch, hold up, man. Don't forget, Moses' horns might just be talking about shooting beams of light. We're talking Dawid, we're talking Moshe, we're talking priest king all day. We're talking Dawid, we're talking Moshe, we're talking priest king all day. Let's go back to this one. Here it says he's the son of Raja Chola II, who is also who? Prester John. So Pops is Prester John too. And David had a seed, right? Seeds that would also carry the title David. Although we might call him Daniel today. So Raja Chola II, Jadaran, keep that in mind. This Dawit Soslan, who's his dad? Prince Jadaran, king of the Alans. Husband of Rusadon of Georgia. Son of Anan, king of the Alans. So now we got linked to the kingdom of the Alans, right? We're talking Anion, we're talking Anan, we're talking Anan ben David, we're talking Moshe, we're talking the exilarchs who are in Babylonian captivity. Now we're just talking the Alans. And we got a lot of our people carrying this Allen name today, like Marcus Allen, right? The Football Hall of Fame, you know. The Allen title is still rock. This is very important. This is your story. Let's put it back together. So, this is Prester John, Jadaran, king of the Allens, because it's the same Jadaran here, or Prester John, whose son is Solomon and exilarch David, who's the same Anan ben David, who wrote the code. Let's dig. All right, let's keep going. So who's Prester John's daddy then? Let's keep going. Atan, king of the Alans. Atan of the Alan's king of the Alans, also known as Atham. Atham. Almost sounds like Adam. This is a Davidic dynasty that didn't just start with, King David. It started with Jesse, right? Jesse, Yeshai, Esau, who's also a Prester John. David's dad is Jesse, right? Or you could say Raja Hiraja Chola, or you could say Atan, king of the Alans. But just to let you know, it's just a David thing. Just to let you know, it's still a David thing. Is that even Prester John's dad's dad is a David. But now you got to go into the Bagratun dynasty. The Bagratun dynasty. The Bagratuni and the Alans and the Kingdom of Georgia. We're just talking medieval times, dark ages. David, so he's the father, right? Let's go again. Let's go back now. Matter of fact, let's keep going. Because this David Bragatan is the son of another David. Now they're going to the 900s. That's David on David on David. By the time you get to Anan ben David, Anan ben David, who wrote the Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, just like Moshe in the 1200s. By the time you get here to Anan ben David, that they're putting in the 700s. But we know it's way after that because his great-great-granddaddy is in the 900s, okay? This Anan, son of David, is connected to another David and another David, or else he wouldn't be called Anan, son of David. Anan. Man, they sure they give us things in a mixed up order when it comes to David and Moshe, Joshua, Miriam, Aaron. And he would be the son of who they call Demetrius Anatopia. This is the bloodline of the priest king. This is the bloodline of David, who's the son of King George I of Georgia. See, these are the OG Georges. These are the OG Georges. And you can keep going. He's the son of King Bakrat III of Georgia. So let's go back. So he's the father of Bakrat. Dr. Hijack pictures because you know it looking like you. He's the father of Georgie. Man, this might be how they spell Genghis Khan's other name, man. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. It will spell something like that. He's the father of David IV. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. try to navigate your way through these Davids, right? So this is the son of David Bakartan. He's the father of Jadaron. Jadaron here is Raja Hiraja Chola, Jadaron, or Prester John. All right. So now we got back to Prester John. All right. Father of David Saucelin, Dawit Saucelin. And now we're here again. Now check this out. Father of who? Raja is the father of the exile David, right? This is who we're matching up with the Anan ben David, or his dad. Let's go. Who's the father of Exarch Hesdai. Now see how they stop right there. The father of Hesdai, that's all we get. So that's why you gotta have multiple, you know what I'm saying, reflections of the same person. Here when you get to David Saucelin, right? David Saucelin. Says he's the father of King of George IV and Rusidan, Queen of Georgia. He doesn't say the Hesdai part. Husband of Tamar, right? Right, so this one doesn't have husband of... Now here's an interesting thing. He's the brother of Anan. Who's also, of course, the son of this Prester John, brother of Solomon. Just like Daniel. So whether Daniel is called David or whether Daniel is possibly called Anan, if you take the H off, where you at again? Anan. Ania. Oh yeah. We're back to the Ania. But it doesn't say who his wife is over here. Over here it says wife, husband of Tamar, Queen of Georgia. All right, then you got his sons, George IV and Rusidan. Rusidan is, where's his daughter? So that's his daughter. All right, so you got George and Rusidan. King George, right? 1223, right? Son of David, Saucelin, and Queen Tamar, father of David, David the Seventh. And this is circa 1223, where he supposedly died. Born 1191. So he didn't live that long, this one right here. But he became the father of David the Seventh. So we're just continuing now where the other one left off. And now we get back into these Brachiotones. Alright, so this is a whole other dynasty to research, the Brachiotones dynasty. Alright, I mean, we're just digging on it, man. We're just digging on it. Let's go. Because he wrote the code that's Anan ben David. He wrote the Sefer Ha-Mitzwot. And so, we're just digging on the same Moshe who wrote the same Sefer Ha-Mitzwot. Now back to this Maimonides. Let's see how we looking here, man. How we doing? Okay. You got the link, It's a 40-page document. I'm just leading you to the water. Now, what they say about this David or this Moses, all right? He was Sephardic, Spanish origin. He lived and worked in Egypt. Moshe lived in Egypt and worked in Egypt. And that's where I'll stop all the personal stuff, man. Stop all the mushy stuff. His Hebrew name was Moshe. All right. All this hijack. Conquered by the Almohads when he was 13. Gave choice of conversion to Islam or death. Made converts must wear identifying clothing. His rabbi was tortured to death. I'm just reading out some bullet points. Thus says Moses, the son of Maimon, the judge, the Sephardi, a contemporary of ours, addressed a question concerning the tragic problem of apostasy to a pseudo-scholar who lived comfortably and in freedom and in a community that was spared the affliction of apostasy. And it involved some Jews who, under compulsion, had to confess the authenticity of Muhammad as God's messenger and true prophet. They were given one of two choices, either to accept the Muslim confession, more on more war, and spare their children from falling into the hands of their oppressors, or refuse to pronounce the Islamic formula and suffer martyrdom. Martyrdom. You were martyred. But now, these indigenous people that were martyred can only find hope in the martyred Black Christ. Because just like them, they were persecuted and hung from a tree. They say cross. Symbolizing indigenous, martyred. So if you didn't accept the hijack, you were martyred, a fate presumably prescribed by the laws of Moses. Wow. Just surfing the wave in this document, having a great flow in this investigation. Obviously, there's much more. There's always going to be, fountains popping off, man. Fountains of water. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. So he was known to gather ransom to redeem the Hebrews captured by Crusaders. So he would get his people back. He advocates exile whenever feasible. Even if one worships idols under duress, his soul will not be cut off. Oh, man. Now it says he accepted no money for Torah. His brother David supported him but died at sea in 1169. Hold up. Whoa, Genie. Whoa, Genie. What it do? We found Moshe. Maimonides. Hey, what a great dismount, man. What a great dismount, man. What a great dismount, man. Known as the Great Eagle. Rhyme Bam. Moshe bin Maimon. Brother of David bin Marmon. That's what they said. He had a brother named David. We're just surfing the wave. So who's his pops? Maimon Hadaya, Rambam's father, son of Yosef, Maimon. Oh boy, oh boy. Hey, you see how this investigation works? You see how this investigation works? I mean, I wasn't even looking for this. Notice they call him what? Musa, 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 Mansa, Musa. Interesting. I mean, how many rich Nagas do we have at the same time? Musa. And I would love to dig further in this genealogy as well, man. Let me make sure I bookmark that for our next investigation. So, let's hit a couple points for the dismount right here, man. It's been a great surf. All right, so we got a brother named David. He said, died at sea. He says, worse than anything else was the death of my righteous brother, righteous David. May his memory be blessed, who drowned in the Indian Sea, carrying much more money belonging to me, to him, and to others, and left with me a little daughter and a widow. On the day I received that terrible news, I fell ill and remained in bed for about a year, suffering from sore boil, fever, depression. Was almost giving up. About 8 years have passed, but I'm still mourning and unable to accept consolation. And how should I console myself? He grew up on my knees. He was my brother. He was my student. So I'm sure there's a lot more work on this Maimonides. We're just talking about his works, though. All of the law he put down. Moses, son of Maimon, the Sephardi, besteered myself in relying on the help of Ahchwa, blessed be he, intently study all these works with the view of putting together the results obtained from them, all in plain language and clear style, so that thus the entire oral law might become systematically known to all without citing difficulties and solutions of differences of view. A lot more Sefers to dig on, right? A lot more Sefers to dig on. Book of the Commandments, 613 Mitzvot. Wow. All right. So we got a lot more to pick up on with that. For now, let's just focus on this for the dismount. The Sefer Ha-Mitzwot. Okay, I mean, do we got a PDF on it, man? Do we got a PDF? See how we want to do it for the dismount, man. How we want to do it for the dismount. You know, I'm gonna do it like this, man. Let's go 432 hertz, man. Let's just kick it. Let's just go healing music, man. Y'all just want some healing music, man. Let's go some nature healing music, man. Let's do this for the dismount. Love to. So much great 432 drop on YouTube. I mean, that's for sure. Meditative Mind got the drop. Let's do this, man. You might hear my droplets, man, going a little crazy, man. I'm on daddy daycare and getting this Prester to because I promise we're going to get the Prester John 50. And after that, man, we might continue, but we probably won't keep track no more. We probably just drop it. You know what I'm saying? No point in keeping count no more after we get to Prester John 50. After that, man, we just in the ether with it, man. Just know that we put together a 50-part series on Prester John. 100 hours of published recon. And after that, we in the ether, man. We in the flow. Ahchwa. Sefer Ha-Mitzwot. All right, okay. Just checking it out. Okay. Start at the top. Positive commandment number 1. We're just reading the laws of Moses. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's pretty dope, right? To read the laws of Moses. You know what I mean? Sefer Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts, written by Moshe at the age of 33. Yeah, man, I'm just talking Moshe, man. Maimonides, son of Maimon, writing these laws in Egypt. We're just talking Anan. We're talking David. We're talking phantoms and duplicates, right? Let's read a couple of these positive commandments. Surf the wave on out. The first mitzvah is that we are commanded to acquire knowledge of the nature of Hawa's existence, to understand that he is the original cause and source of existence who bring all creations into being. The source of the commandments is Hawa's statement, exalted be he, I am Hawa, your power. We see that this commandment is included in the total 613 from the end of the tractate Mikos, which states 613 commandments were given to Moshe at Sinai. From which verse do we see this? The Torah, which was commanded to us by Moshe. This indicates that the numbers of mitzvos which Moshe commanded us equals the numerical value of the word Torah. The Gemara then asks, but is this the proper numerical value? It only totals 611. The answer is given. The 2 commandments, I am Hawa, your power, and do not have any other gods, were heard from Hawa directly and not through Moshe. They are therefore not alluded to in the word Torah in this verse, which refers only to those 611 mitzvos, which were given through Moshe. It is included, however, in the 613. It is clear from this passage that I am Hawa, your power, i.e., knowledge of Hawa, as explained above, is counted as one of the 613 mitzvos. What about positive commandment number 2? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. No hijack allowed. Loving Hawa. Oh, that's number 3. Let's go back. I like that though. Hawa's unity, the second mitzvah, is that we are commanded to acquire knowledge of Hawa's unity to understand the original creator and source of all one, of all existence is one. The source of the commandment is Hawa's statement, blessed be he, exalted be he. Here, understand, O Israel, Hawa is power. Hawa is your creator. Hawa is one. We dodge all these lords and guys. We don't talk spell. We don't talk spell. Hawa is one. The framer and the shaper are one. Your mother, your father are one. You get married, you become one. In most midrashim, you find that this mitzvah described in the context of Hawa's statement that a certain kindness was done to the Jewish people, to the Israelites, on condition that they unify my name. So if you unify the name of the Creator, do you have to pray in the name Bahashem, Yeshua, HaMashiach? It's already unified. You don't have to split up the Creator. We're not separate from the Creator. Our Mashiachs aren't separate from the Creator. All this separation business is hijack city. The Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. On condition that you unify my name. On condition that they unite me. They mean to say that Hawa took us out of bondage and heaped kindness upon us upon condition that we have his unity firmly fixed in our minds, since we are required to do so. Was commandment 3? Loving Hawa. The third mitzvah is that we are commanded to love Hawa, to meditate upon and closely examine his mitzvahs, his laws, his commandment, and his works in order to understand him, and through his understanding to achieve a feeling of ecstasy. What's the matter? Where's your ecstasy? This is the goal of the commandment of Hawa, to love Hawa. We can see that meditation is the way to create this feeling of love. Meditation. Turn it up, man. I mean, ain't we just meditating with meditative mind, man? Hey, that's all right. That's all right. To meditate upon and closely examine his laws, his mitzvahs. We can see that meditation is the way to create this feeling of love. From the statement, you shall love Hawa, your power, can I know how to love Hawa? The Torah, therefore, says, in these words which I command you today shall be upon your heart, that through this meditation about his commandments, you will understand the nature of the one who spoke and thereby brought this world into being. Wow. Let's back it up. I mean, all this was written by Moshe, man. All this was written by David, man. The Sefer Ha-Mitzwot. 400-year time shift. Middle Ages. 12th century. 13th century. So you have, it says view all 248. All right, so there's 248 positive commandments, 365 negative commandments. Let's get an example of the negative commandment. The first prohibition, all right, so this is what not to do, is that we are forbidden from entering the thought that there is any deity other than Hawa. No other deity. No son of Hawa being another deity. You are the energy that connects directly to Hawa. The source of this prohibition is Hawa's statement, although he is so exalted that the term speech cannot really be applied to him, do not have any other power gods before me. In the end of Makos, it is explained that this prohibition is included in the 613 commandments as they state here. 613 commandments were given to Moshe at Sinai. We have explained this proof in the first of the positive mitzvos. Let's get negative commandment number 2. Let's do 3 and 3. Oh, we're talking to idols, right? This sounds very familiar, right? The second prohibition is that we are forbidden from making statues for worship, regardless of whether they are made by the person himself or he asks someone else to make them for him. The source of the commandment in Hawa's statement, do not make yourselves any statue or image. We're talking images. We're talking Black Christ. Because what happened, the original syncretism, the syncretic, the attempted fusion of the image, fusion of symbols from pre-Hispanic Mesoamerican, that's pre-hijack American, as well as Christian imageries, imageries, Black Christ, that only symbolize your condition and fate. You were hung on a tree, right? No images. Okay, what's the third one? The third prohibition is that we are forbidden from making an idol even for others to serve, and even at the request of a non-Jew, the source of this commandment, and do not make gods for yourself. So they're breaking it up and they're breaking it down. Don't make no other gods for yourself. Don't make no other gods for yourself, making the Black Christ their own. Because symbolically, you reappropriated the image, making Black Christ your very own. We're just surfing the wave in the Sefer. The Sefer of Moshe. Ha-Mitzwot, Book of Precepts, Anan and David. Moshe ben Maimonides. Exile David Sauceland. Raja Chola II, Raja Haraja, Jadaran, or Prester John. You know, this whole book of Daniel popped off, they said, in the 16th century. Daniel's the second son of David. Or Moses. And if this is going down in the 16th century, this book of Daniel, then could this also be going down in the 16th century? And this? Yeah, we got a lot more to dig on with this great link here. We're just talking Quivera, the kingdom, right? Anan, you got the maps. The cities of gold. Look out, I'm coming in hot. We coming. I think we earned it. I think we earned another cities of gold, y'all. The location of Quivira is believed by most authorities to be central Kansas, cities of gold, Kansas, cities of gold, Kansas. The Quivirians were the forebears of the modern Wichita Indians or Washita or Washita and Caddoan tribes such as Pawnee, Arikara, Kara. The city of Edzonia, which flourished between 1450 and 1700, is thought to be part of Quivira. We're back in the 16th century. All we had to do was start digging on the maps, and now we got the cities of gold and this king of Appalachia, love the natural, man, this king of Quivira or Anan, the king of the three Indias, David, modern day Wichita Indians and Caddoans, right? So, that's when we started digging it up, and we, realized that this Wichita is an extinct Caddoan language. So it's all about the Caddoan languages, right? Caddo is Caddoan language of the Southern Plains. Only a few dozen speakers remain. Most elders in Texas and Oklahoma. What happened to the Trail of Tears? The Hebrews had to be led to Oklahoma. But the tribe is working to reach this youngest generation of Caddo Indians. A lot more drop to dig on with these Caddo, man. And it's coming. It's coming. We started this documentary. I think this is a nice spot to do a dismount. I will be getting that natural by law, though, at some point in this series, most likely the next one right there, man. So love to you, Nat. I appreciate you, bro. Atlantica, Appalachia. Man, let's turn down our medication. Matter of fact, yeah, let's pause it. We're gonna pause our meditation a little bit. Nah, I'm gonna turn it down. I'm just gonna turn it down. I still like that vibe. And I said we'll pick up this documentary for the dismount. This is the Adzonia documentary, Remnants of Atlantica. Remember that drop? Atlantis. Edzanoa. Remember? Edzanoa. 7 cities of gold. The city Edzanoa, they said, flourished between 1450 and 1700. What happened? I don't know. Papal Bull, Doom Diversas, 1452, Manifest Destiny, Hijack City 101. They came over here looking for gold. They're looking for the cities of gold, the 7 cities of Cibola, which is Shambhala. The Zuni Cibola complex. And Graham Hancock said Zuni is Zebulon. We're just talking about how we cool. So Hawaku is connected with the Zebulon Zuni Shambhala complex. This is where Estevanico went. Remember, Estevanico's in Moray. We get back to that cities of gold. Estevan went up here looking for turquoises and women. Said that he was serving a white man, and they said, man, that's impossible. They never heard of such a thing before. And he was murdered or, judged right there in this promised land region that had never seen no outsiders coming in, especially asking for their turquoise coppers and their women's, saying that they've served this white man, this Estebanico, this Moor from Zamori, this Moor from Morocco, who they said was the first non-native to enter Hawaku. Non-native, black or white. Non-native means non-native. 7 cities of gold, man. Cibola, Estonia. Let's get it for the dismount, man.
5 centuries ago, the two halves of our world changed forever.
Stop already, huh? Stop. One more time.
Five centuries ago, the two halves of our world.
Two halves of our world. They only knew one world, and they just found you in a new world. So when they draw these balls around it, just like they draw a ball around, their globe today, make it a ball, that's how they're doing it. So you have all these balls. This is one planet, this is one planet, and there's many more. But this is the new world, the new earth, the new world that they just found, man.
The world changed forever. Waves of European explorers were astonished to discover a new world across the ocean.
They just found you, my nugget.
And they set upon its shores in ships by the hundreds. At the same time, millions of indigenous people faced the inconceivable arrival of strange men.
Inconceivable that someone would find us here and break the partition. We knew it was the beginning of the end, and now it's the end leading up to a new beginning. But this was the beginning of the end when they saw this shit right here, man. All right, let's pick it up right here around the 3-minute mark where we left off.
It's short grass inside, mixed height grasses outside. Apparently because the sod was removed to create the figure and took the topsoil. And from over here to the northwest, all the way to northeast and beyond this pond down here, there is a string of sites that I believe represent a single large community.
Wichita-related people have occupied a really vast territory, for centuries. This particular area here, it kind of represents the pinnacle of Wichita civilization, where here there were tens of thousands of Wichitas in, 1540, 1600, 300 years later, 1900, there were 300 of us. That fact alone, tells you a lot of devastating things happen to our people.
Sometimes when you go out and you're walking out in the open space, you imagine your people living out here, living out in grass houses and the structures that they lived in and stuff. And you just wonder what they felt. But
you gotta dodge the hijack because they're telling you a story and they're giving you images about these Wichitas. These Wichitas, right? But don't you forget that we dug all up on this Washita, not Wichita. This is their hijack version. Wichita. Oh, we dug on the Washita. Matter of fact, our Moorish brothers even dug on the Washita, man. It's getting linky. It's getting linky. Can you imagine I had all these links up at the same time, man? That's crazy, man. Crazy. Craziness, man. Crazy talk. It's just so good. It gets so good sometimes, you know what I mean? Where's my Wichita, Washita track? Oh, yeah. I mean, it should be bookmarked. I'm going the long way for some reason. Bang. Washita. Washita, man. Washita, man. You just talking to she, man. Washita, not Wichita. You're talking to she. The Alme. The Alme. Khan, you're talking the Amaru. Khan, you're talking the more, the moo. You're talking the indigenous. You're talking the indigenous, man. You're talking the indigenous identity before Black Christ. Before the reflection, the Christianized reification of the drama of the conquest invasion. You're talking about pre-reflection. You're talking about the indigenous people. When you talk Washita, you're talking the indigenous autochthon nations. Love to the bro, man. You're talking the Alme, the Washita. Don't let these people play you, man. Don't let them play you, man. With these images, let's go.
What they went through. Sometimes you just stand out there in an open space and just imagine what they might have went through.
In a bit of dark irony, the same European explorers who brought about the decimation of the Wichita and their neighbors are now some of our best sources for understanding and recording those indigenous cultures. At the center of this expedition are two Spanish conquistadors. The story of the first begins in 1540. Francisco Vázquez de Coronado, the governor of the new Spanish province of Nueva Galicia, takes 1,500 men on a quest toward the interior of the continent in search of 7 fabled cities of gold. He has heard of a wealthy land far to the east where the chief drinks from golden cups. They call this land Quivira. After months of travel, Coronado has found no gold, but he and his men have made it as far north as central Kansas.
They tearing up all this looking for the cities of gold.
On July 6, 1541, Coronado makes contact with the Wichita, calling them Quiviran. Today, fragments of the Spanish presence in Kansas still lurk in field sites like this. On the third day of the workshop, Dr. Blakesley's team uncovers one.
Okay, I got something for you.
Let's see what you have. Oh, well, look at that.
Yeah.
This tiny scrap of metal is a fragment of Spanish chainmail. Dr. Blakesley shares it with Dr. Linda Scott Cummings, who will clean it and then take it into her one-of-a-kind lab, a mobile archaeological microforensic laboratory.
A lot of people wonder how on earth we came up with the idea to create a mobile lab. And really, it came from returning from a conference that 3 of us from the lab had attended. And we say, wouldn't it be nice if we could take what we do in the lab out in the field and do it in the field with the archaeologists?
The story of the second conquistador now takes us to the southern edge of the state, where Dr. Blakesley hopes to uncover more evidence of early encounters with the Spanish. The year is 1601. Another Spanish explorer sets out across the Great Plains in search of Quivira.
Juan de Oñate was the founder of the Spanish colony of New Mexico.
Oñate sets off with a troop of 130 soldiers heading east. They meet an encampment of native people, whom Oñate dubs the Escanjaques. These people warn him that a large settlement of their enemy, a group the Spanish called the Riados, lies about 20 miles ahead. Oñate carries on, and soon he encounters the Riados, finding them to be united, peaceful, and settled.
There was a friendly encounter with the local folks, but they took some hostages to quiz them about what their enemies had said. And
It was so peaceful, but we took hostages.
as a response, all of the local people fled. So the next day they crossed the river and came to an empty town.
As an emissary of the Spanish crown, Oñate is careful to record every detail of his journey.
Oñate set 4 men to counting houses, and the answer was 2,000 at roughly 10 people per head, a population of 20,000.
Wow.
20,000 people. In 1601, at the time of the expedition, the founding of Jamestown was still 6 years away. The population of Boston, Philadelphia, and New York, 0. None of these cities existed, yet here was a town of 20,000 humans.
This is the first time that the Spanish had been
0 people in New York City? Sound like some hijack city going on. I wonder why.
into this area to meet these kind of people and to see village sites that were that large, to run into something that's 5 miles long anywhere in the United States in that time period was major. I don't know about you, but to me, knowing that there's that many people out there would be a little nerve-wracking.
Indeed. Onyate and his team decide to turn around before they reach the end of the Great Settlement. But getting back home is not so simple.
They retreated back the way they came, only to find that the Escanjaques were lying in wait for them in the deserted town and attacked them.
Onyate's 130 soldiers are ambushed by a reported 1,500 native warriors. The Escanjaques have hidden themselves in a boulder-filled gully, and now they leap out to release a barrage of arrows, before retreating again and again. In spite of their numbers, the Escanjaques are no match for Onyate's muskets and cannons. Onyate and his men escape back to New Mexico, never to return to the land of the Wichita. But they don't return empty-handed.
They took with them a couple of captives, 2 young boys and a man that they had captured during the battle. And those folks were taken down to Mexico City, where the Viceroy arranged for a formal set of interviews. And he ended up drawing a map.
This map, called the Miguel Map, is the key to Dr. Blakesley's quest.
He drew in a variety of settlements, some rivers, some trails, and he said the native names. He didn't speak Spanish, so he was speaking his own language. And he labeled the big settlement that the Spanish had visited, and he said the name of it was Etzanoa.
Though many archaeologists dreamed that the Miguel Map could lead them to Etzanoa, for decades it refused to correlate with any known topography. Then, a professor at the University of Oklahoma, Dr. Susan Vahig, had a revelation.
On the map, there are circles that represent settlements connected by lines that represent rivers and roads. So it should have been a simple matter to match the map to existing sites and topography, but that didn't happen at first. Miguel, the Native American who drew the map, depicted his territory accurately, but with east at the top. Then his Spanish interrogators asked for more information. To fit this on the page, he tilted the orientation halfway through. So the Miguel map has 2 orientations. Left is north at the top of the page, but it is south at the bottom of the page. When Susan Vahig reoriented the map, it became easier to match it to the landscape and to the locations of known sites.
With this new shape in hand, Dr.
Samaria. So they was drawing maps, trying to get orientation. And that's all we trying to get. That's all we getting. You know, we'll keep getting a little bit of this doc at a time, man. But again, we're just talking Etzanoa, which means we're just talking Cavera. You know what I mean? We're just talking the Ame'rican, man. We're just talking the Ame'rican. We're just talking the homeland, the promised land. Cibola, Hawaku. Oh, man, come on, man. Don't do me like that, man. Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that. Be good to me now. Be good to me now for the dismount. We're just talking the Corvera Regnum. And this is all, what's coming to full clarity for us, man. We're just talking the full clarity. so we can meditate on. So when we're talking Anan, we're talking Quivira, you're talking Anian, Strait of Anian, you're talking Quivira, you're talking the kingdoms, and you're talking the cities of gold. And you already know you're talking dragons, man. Y'all tune in, man, and keep tuning up. Keeping the code. Remember who wrote the code, man. You keep tuning up. Remember who wrote the code. Remember the Sefer. Remember to keep yourself pure from the idols. Because you are who they were already looking for. You are the indigenous people. We are hijack free. All praise our Creator. Ahchwa.